Let's now shift gears to matters politics, and joining me in studio is Wakili Gibson. Wakili, they say Bokire.
Wakire.
All right, good morning. How was your long weekend?
Thank you, Victor, for inviting me, and I will want to say I'm happy to be back here after a while. My long weekend, Victor, was good. Though people are not sure whether it's supposed to be a traditional one or a Nuduma one, but nonetheless it was a long weekend.
Exactly.
Which we thank God for.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot happened, and we should expect more to happen perhaps this week. Let me start by asking you, because what's going to start to happen today is the vetting of the DCI boss, which is one of the crucial dockets in the country. And we've had several names being floated there. Who is going to replace Kinoti, who is now eyeing for a different position as per the National Police Service Commission. I don't know what is your take on the vetting, on what's going to start today, and what you think should be the criteria and requirements on who should inherit Kinoti?
On matters Kinoti, Victor, it's very interesting that you know, Kinoti just came in board, and I think his term has not come to an end. But what is interesting to observe is the fact that politics dictates who has to inherit or who has to be in what position in this country, which is rather interesting.
Yeah.
But then, that aside, then there is the issue of how you have dealt before, the issue of personal differences, or how it's supposed that you have dealt, or how you ought not to have been behaving. There was a feeling that prior to the coming in of this particular leadership, the DCI had been heavily involved in trying to sabotage their campaigns, in trying to harass and in trying to bring them to book a couple of people. And people had been saying that this regime was coming under the precepts of giving freedom, and somebody was making a light joke that the freedom was actually indeed theirs.
Yes.
So, but then, especially the deputy president has been very categorical that indeed for him it's not even about the deputy president. It's actually the aspect that he can walk down the street without the fear of being arrested, without he can drive without seeing a lorry and getting scared whether it will crash. Or, you know, with that particular aspect, then you get to see that such a particular person who was in charge of a sensitive docket, then it's not morally, it's not right to actually proceed to work with the same people, which everybody has a perception that you are the person who was behind their troubles. So it's only clear that you need to exit and have somebody else who can be able to work, because security is a very sensitive docket for a regime. So it's only clear that, or it's only in order that he steps aside or moves to other things, less sensitive things, or lighter duties, as they call it sometimes, to take up some other roles, which the vetting, of course, there has been some controversy whether how that is supposed to exactly happen, whether it's there was an issue of constitution, but then we have an act which is not in tandem with what it's not very clear in the process. Normally it's supposed to be a procedural thing, but you get to realize that when they were amending the act, they left the other previous act which was subsisting. They didn't actually amend everything. So, but then we understand in Kenya the rule of politics takes precedence over.
Exactly, and that is quite dangerous, because now when some kind of positions are now mixed with politics, we can imagine what would happen. But then, legally speaking, there is this aspect of the DCI, which has again been spoken over by the deputy president, that the DCI should go back to Kiambu Road. Do not engage, move away from public offices and go back to Kiambu Road. From a legal aspect, DCI must work in a certain way to collect to do the investigations, to come up with a strong case. How will it be? Because at some point, even you as lawyers, you depend on the DCI report to firm up your cases. So What do you think, what would be the sort of a DCI do you think we'll have after this, with such kind of pronouncements?
I think the statement by the Deputy President that the DCI indeed should be able to move to Kiambu Road and leave public offices was meant in the aspect that of his former experiences, the over-engagement or the use of DCI to actually run politics.
Yeah.
I think that is what he meant. But you see, if you take it clearly, if you take it literally, then you are likely to have issues whereby if the DCI actually pulls off of public offices where money is actually being spent and or money is actually being pilferaged, then we are going to have a serious challenge. So there is that balance, there's that particular mix. You remember we had the Kamata Fridays,
exactly,
which really were not auguring well with the aspect of justice, because why arrest me on Friday if you are aware that I've committed a crime from previously? Why not any other day, but it's a Friday? So there's that aspect of trampling on the rights of people. I think that is what they need to check on. And then the aspect, if you have your evidence, then why want to victimize me? Why don't we just follow the Constitution clearly, which is giving me my rights? As much as I'm an accused person, I need to have my rights going forward. So there was that particular aspect, which of course, and that was also sometimes being precipitated by the aspect that the expectations of Kenyans are also very big. So I think the DCI, the criminal justice system, was trying to pull up their socks and say, you know, we have even caught the big fish and they even slept inside.
Exactly.
Because there's that aspect, these people are financially capable. So once they arrive in court, they will just walk out the same way they came in. And the Kenyans felt that, you know, they were trying to play to the gallery in short. That's what I'm saying, which is not going in tandem with what the justice should.
You know what really happened? You know, in previous regimes, each and every regime must have their own system, how things work. You know, the police force coupled by the DCI. That is quite normal. But then now, Kinoti had his standards of operations, and now we have the next regime, the current one. Perhaps based on what, not preferably, not necessarily to compare what Kinoti did, but what do you think the current DCI, who is going to succeed him, should do, or even perhaps make better?
Much as Kinoti has had his downsides, personally, from my own perspective, we needed that, because previously we had a DCI which was not visible, which was not known what it was doing, was operating behind the curtains. In essence, that's how they're supposed to happen, but we had a more political, more outgoing Kinoti, who in essence came at the right time, because we needed to buy that public support to also get the Kenyans, because at the end of the day, your work must be reflective of what the expectations of Kenyans should be. Much as that was also bordering some aspects of justice being pushed to the shove, but then the people who are actually being dealt with were people who are running Kenya, and you know, they can be able to find their way out in whatever situation you put them in. So then we had an aspect where even public officials were actually apprehensive of making a mistake, which was very important, as opposed to previously when people could just wake up and do whatever it is they want, and then they just know that they are not going to account to anyone. So we needed that. So as to the person who is coming in, whoever who is going to be given that particular seat, it will be very important for him to actually chart a path which should be able to, in quote-unquote, say, you should not be able to go below the standards that Kinoti set, and then be able to also balance the aspect of justice so that it doesn't end up being accused of what Kinoti is being accused of right now. So he has to be very civil. And I think I saw a statement, is it on social media from DCI, where they were actually saying that we will now be civilly arresting people, we will be checking on their rights. It means they are aware of what they're being accused of. And that is very important, because being self-aware is the most important thing you can never be when you are in a public office. Remember that you need to behave in the manner of Caesar's wife.
Interesting statement there.
Yes.
As a legal practitioner, your work should be, it should be like you know, like a chain. you get information from the DCI, from the police, and all that. How possible is it, or how easy is it to access information from the DCI? And perhaps if not, what do you think are some of the bottlenecks that, you know, hinder such flow of information as Kenyans seek for justice?
I think from the legal practitioner's perspective, DCI has been very helpful in terms of preparation of cases for advocates. I don't think as the Law Society of Kenya, there has ever been an accusation on the DCI that they are inept in terms of divulging information.
Yeah.
That has been, and I think the DCI also does understand that the lawyers are also critical players in this particular field. So I will now try to commend them that they need to keep that up. But that is what is expected, because the DCI is a midwife of justice. If you tend to make any simple mistake, we'll lose the baby. So, and the baby being justice, hypothetically in this particular case. So, at the point when they realize, especially when when I go to police stations and I introduce myself that I'm a lawyer, then you start seeing them behave differently immediately from there. They start processing somebody differently as opposed to the speed at which they were taking him, the gusto with which they were moving with this case, because they understand now we've got to be very careful in terms of dealing with this person, because his person is marksman for his rights is here. So that also is a very important cog, that they are well aware that if we don't play right by the law, then there's aspect of this person whom we wanted to prosecute, or we have very cogent evidence against him, might actually be let free because of the constitutional provisions. So now we're supposed to process him. So that is one. Secondly, there's that aspect that what comes of the person who is not represented. That is also becomes, because the law must be able to act across the plane. So and most of Kenyans actually cannot be able to access legal services. So we actually need to ensure that the standards apply to both represented people and unrepresented people. They should be treated in a fair manner. So if we can be able to attain that, then we can actually be able to say Kenya is a country which respects justice.
There is that aspect of confidence. When you talk about, you know, when you walk into an office and you introduce yourself, you know, I'm a lawyer, and then you things start moving hastily. But then that aspect of confidence, do you really think Kenyans are getting the confidence in 2 seconds, kindly?
Yeah, Kenyans are getting the confidence. Kenyans will always, once you find them in police station, they're getting the confidence. They know their rights. They will just tell you. Most cases they don't, but the courage the Kenyans have is way beyond any other people I've seen in this country.
Let's take a break, okay?
Thank you.
Let me have my confidence with my boss and take a break. We'll be right back with Wakili Gibson Gisore shortly. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is now People in Politics, and just to mention that I'm joined in studio by Martin Mosisho, who is the Deputy Governor of Kajiado County. Joining me in studio, we'll be talking matters politics, matters drought, and so much more. Something that you really need to know about him. He'll tell us more. I'll tell you what it is. Stick around. Mheshimiwa, karibu to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right. You join us now when we're talking about matters DCI, but before I come back to you, let me just give you time to finish your statement when you're making, Wakili, the role and, you know, the DCI and the state of, you know, trust that wananchi have with the DCI.
Yes, the DCI, the Kenyans has really tried to play their politics right, even I put it, because now Kenyans have that deep faith that, you know, when DCI swings into action, then they see some development in terms of the people who are purported to have gone against the law will always be dealt. I think if you see in every press where injustice has happened or a crime has happened, you will see people calling upon the DCI. The DCI should get to the bottom of this. It means Kenyans understand that we have an office called the DCI, and the DCI is their responsibility to investigate and then to actually ensure that these people end up in court, which is a very interesting aspect in a particular dispensation.
Yes.
Because people being self-aware or knowing what bodies deal with what particular issue is a very good thing. Now, though there has also been issues between the DCI and the DPP, which happened, I think, readily before the election, and then we were in a quandary whereby we didn't know where the DPP was told, now you're supposed to be able to draft the charges and be able to prosecute, and the DCI felt that their responsibilities were being usurped because they're the people who investigate, they're the people who are first called to the crime scene, they put all the paperwork in order. So they were going to look like they are just errand boys. And I think that's a responsibility they didn't want to take, and that brought a lot of conflicts.
Yes.
But constitutionally, that is how it's supposed to be, but the practicality of that is impossible.
You've raised a very important point, Wakili, and just before I bring in Mheshimiwa here, there is that bit of synergy, between the office of the DPP and the DCI. We remember at some point there was some kind of back and forth between Nurdin and Kinoti.
Yes.
Somebody was speaking from the left side of the hand, the other person was speaking from the right hand of the hand. You'd imagine how that would easily derail the flow of a case.
Yes. It actually brought a lot of commotion. It brought a lot of bad energy between these bodies, which are supposed to be acting in a manner that they understand that they are walking a journey together like a marriage.
Yes.
Now, when you have one party pulling aside, but that was precipitated by a judgment which came out of the court. And the court actually outlined what the Constitution says. And then it left to the bodies to figure it out. Rather, I think the judgment should have anticipated such a situation and then be able maybe to give them like a year to actually find a working balance, or in a way that they should be able to work not to offend the Constitution and be able to deliver within the time span so that the process is regularized. Because it just needs regularization to actually achieve the balance that which can work for Kenyans.
Mheshimiwa, at this particular point I'll bring you in. Let me get your point on there's an interview to get the next DCI boss starting today. But then, when you look at the counties generally, counties have been in a position where you'll find the EACC, the DCIs, in those offices doing the investigations, which is quite okay. I don't know what would be your take, and what do you think should be that person who should inherit Kinoti's office?
Thank you very much. I'll begin by saying I wish the best the 10 candidates who will be going through interviews today. I think the public has also been given an opportunity to contribute in this process by the invitation of a written memoranda to the panel. This will be a boost to ensure that we have that person who is also accepted by the public. Having said that, because 3 names will finally be submitted to the president, it is our belief and our hope that whoever is going to be picked to run that office is going to run that office with a lot of integrity and goodwill for Kenyans. When counties hear about DCI,
leave alone the county
and many other offices, they think of an institution that is there, that has been weaponized, that is there to do witch hunt, against officers who are running various offices. And to be honest, those some of our agencies in our country have been weaponized. If the big man is not satisfied with you, you're not, singing to his or her tune, they use those offices, to fight members of parliament, the elected leaders or holders of various offices in our country. And And when you hear the deputy president the other day say, DCI, you go back to Kiambu Road, I think that is as a result of the frustrations that elected leaders has gone through because of the DCI offices. So I think we should totally delink, you know, DCI with politics. Because once we combine, then the functions of that office will miss the point. Will miss the point. So it is my belief that they will work in good faith. They will do their investigations with good faith, but not combine it with politics. Yes.
And when you had, you know, the last regime, a lot of innuendos were flying around left, right, and center, and I know Wakili can attest to that, at some point it was even so hard to access information and to that effect. But DG, let me just put it that particular point. You're one of the youngest leaders in the country, and perhaps your case is motivating other leaders to get into elective positions. Let me start by saying this. You are the chair of the Deputy Council of Governors. What is that position like, so to start?
Thank you very much, and allow me to thank the people of Kajiado for giving me a second chance. When I was elected the first term, I was the youngest deputy governor in Kenya. Right now, I'm not the youngest.
You've given that baton to someone else.
Yeah, right. We now have young deputy governors than me, but let me appreciate the people of Kajiado and the Republic of Kenya for accepting the young people to take up leadership roles. And we're seeing an increase of young leaders being elected every day. That is very good for our country, and I think we're in the right direction. The last term I served as a vice chair of Deputy Governors Caucus, and this time round, I got an opportunity to be elected as a chair of Deputy Governors of Kenya. The Deputy Governors Caucus is part of the Council of Governors, but there are various issues that are so common, I mean, to the Deputy Governors alone. Those are issues that we need to follow it up and make sure that the position of Deputy Governor is respected, be able to also deliver services to people of Kenya. Also that position is respected, serves the purpose of that office. There are a number of things that we're battling with at the moment.
Before you get into that, what is your main role as the Deputy Governors Forum, and your main role as the deputies to your bosses?
Number one, we ensure that we have given total support to our bosses to be able to fulfill the promises that they made to Kenyans and the people of the very counties that we come from. Number two, we also we totally support devolution. So we put our voice to ensure that we strengthen a devolution going forward. Those are just a few of the roles that we have. But we give flesh to the Council of Governors. We complement. We're not in competition with them.
Which is, and I know Wakili will also, come into this. You've had, some rough moments with your bosses. The latest one being of Kakamega, who said that they want to share 50-50 part of government. Is that the real situation at the counties? Now you are the deputy governor. What is the real demarcation between the governors and their deputies? Do you share power?
I think it depends because there are counties that their leaders had got pre-election arrangements.
Okay. Okay.
And when those pre-election agreements are signed, it is always important to honor those pre-election agreements after election. Where things stand sour is where an agreement has been written and the governor failed to honor that agreement.
Right.
I think the Kakamega case is not a problem, has not been a problem, because it was a pre-election agreement and the governor is compliant. So there is no issue. There is no issue. But we have some other counties that the governor and the deputy governor sign an agreement, but after election, the deputy governor is thrown under the bus.
Yes.
That is where things start falling apart.
Yes.
And I think it is good to remind our governors that whatever agreement that you agreed with your running mate, it is honorable.
Yes.
It is honorable to honor that agreement. It will save the county from, concentrating into battles and squabbles other than concentrating on service delivery.
Exactly.
Those are issues that can really derail service delivery.
Yes.
And I think as leaders of our great country, we should not be thinking about how do I assume power for myself, but rather we should be thinking, how can I be able to deliver services for my people?
But DG, is that the real situation? It sounds so easy, but practically speaking, is it possible?
That's why I'm
and that is why most of the governors of all had their issues. We had the issue of Machakos. The deputy governor was, midway was said, told step aside.
I think once we get elected, most of or some of governors no longer see a deputy governor as a running mate and a deputy, but they see as possible competitors.
Yes.
Maybe in the next election.
Yeah.
So sometimes others think either by them thinking about it or
Exactly.
their advisors advising them so that giving a deputy governor roles and encouraging him to be all over, and you are fattening an enemy who will oster you tomorrow.
Let's bring in Wakili here. Wakili, you've had this case quite several times. Based on what he's saying, some people would say that deputy governors never had any, definitive role in the constitution unless you're assigned by your boss. And that is why some of them would even say, you know what, I'm going to do whatever I'm being told by my boss. If not, I'm going to sit in an office, or perhaps once and for all, sit and wait for the end month and, do whatever I'm supposed to do. But legally speaking, don't you think now there's a time has come for some kind of roles to be stipulated clearly? This is your demarcation as a deputy governor, and this is your role as a governor.
Yes, I will want to agree with you, Victor, that indeed it has come to a time when we need to have a stop to all these squabbles. Because you realize for governance to actually work and to provide services for Wananchi, then the people at the head or at the top needs to cut down their drama, their issues of I don't know what I can call them, the internal issues, and then they be able to present a perfect picture to the public so that the public can be able to buy into the confidence that we have people who are working.
Yeah.
Because other than that, for the deputy governor and the governors, we have seen a lot of intrigues which shouldn't be the case. Because if you have gone into an election with somebody whatever arrangement as the deputy governors put it, you need to respect it as a governor.
Yeah.
But then we also have a situation whereby we have some deputy governors who also become over-ambitious. So we did...
I don't know whether DG is one of them, you'll tell us.
We need to cut a balance by actually knowing before election what it is that is expected out of them. I like the way and the speed in which the president has tried to handle this, given that he also suffered a similar scenario. He has come out clear and said, we will not have this anymore. I will assign my deputy president some specific roles which will be executing.
Yeah.
So if governors can be able to actually be able to tailor-make a working situation whereby deputy governor is told you'll be working on 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is your mandate.
Yes.
You need to execute it. And actually tangible roles. Some of them will be assigned roles which will be like they are errand boys, which is unfortunate. And in most cases, actually, I don't know whether you have realized this, Victor. You actually realize, and somebody was making a light joke that those governors who realize they don't have very strong papers, they chose very informed governor. But when you have such a think tank for a deputy governor, and then you just decide to give him roles which are very peripheral, if I can be able to use that word, then it becomes a joke. You know, this person who feel wasted. We had a situation in the last dispensation where deputy governor actually had to go work from abroad for the entire period. And then shows back, says he wants to take the reins. You know, that was interesting.
Okay.
That speaks to the aspect that,
exactly.
You know.
Let me ask you, are you in good terms with your boss?
Very well. I'm privileged to have one of the best bosses I've ever had.
Governor Lenku.
Governor Lenku is one of the best governors in Kenya.
You might be saying that because you're on television.
Not really. But I think Kenya knows the kind of relationship that we have. He has given me liberty. And I have also played my role well because I'm not in competition with my governor. I'm there to help him.
Exactly.
I'm there to help him.
Okay.
And I think he has also, you know, taken me with a lot of dignity and honor, and by that Kajiado has been able to deliver services to the people because of the relationship, the harmony that exists in Kajiado. But having said that, I think there is also a weakness in the law in terms of divining the roles of the deputy governor. Right now, we totally depend on our bosses.
Yes.
Yeah, it is the boss to choose whether to assign you roles and to give you a free hand in government or not. What will what happens to those whom their bosses will limit them?
Yes.
There is no choice because the law has not given us very divine roles. I think there are only 3 roles that are recognized in law. Because the first role is the deputy governor is the deputy CEO of a county. The other one is a deputy governor can, act in the absence of the governor. And the third one is found in the County Government Act, where it says a governor may assign a deputy governor a CC position. Those 3 roles that are recognized in law is not sufficient enough. One of the things that we're pushing as the Deputy Governor's Caucus is to ensure that we push for the roles of the Deputy Governor to be stipulated and well defined in law.
Right.
We want to pursue it through Parliament, and in this case, Senate. We're starting some engagements with senators to see how best they can be able to amend the County Government Act and add flesh to the roles of the Deputy Governor.
Okay. But DG, I'm told that you have some engagement. But I'll love to ask you this question: the drought situation in your country, in your county, for example. Kajiado is worst affected, moving to the northern part of Kenya, talk of Wajir, Garissa, Mandera, etc. What are you doing as a county to avert this situation?
Thank you very much. On 29th September, the governor called for a roundtable meeting because of the current situation in the county. We invited the national government, the county government, various partners, and NGOs just to come and discuss about the drought situation. A few weeks ago, Kajiado is at the alert stage, but I think we almost get into an emergency stage.
That is dangerous.
Which is dangerous. A lot of animals are dying and lives of people are at risk. You know, schools are almost closing because of food and water shortage. There is hunger for the people and for animals.
Yes.
We right now calling out for assistance. You know, the county government has allocated a budget of 130 million to be able to mitigate the effects of this drought.
Yes.
We have already issued food stuff that amounts to 75 million. We have fed over 20,000 households. But there is great need for more a feeding program for human.
Yes. And
our animals need feeds. I think the NDMA has also done its bit through the national government. We have NGOs coming that has already honored their pledges, but more in the process. I think the national governments need to act very fast to mitigate the situation. The situation is so dire. We need water, we need feeds for human, we need feeds for animals. It is a terrible situation.
Governor, I'm told that we're running out of time and you're crossing over to our sister station, Radio Taifa. Perhaps you'll have time and answer this question. There have been some calls that the drought-stricken areas should sell their animals, you know, to Kenya Meat Commission so that they can avert this, and even the money found now can be given to the farmers and even to the animal keepers. I don't know, what is your take on that? And finally, what would be the clarion call from you as a county? There have been some situations where some people say that counties should drill more boreholes to those counties so that when time comes, that then people will not be found flat-footed. Perhaps you can answer that when you cross over to the radio section. All right, let's stop it at that particular point. I'll release the two gentlemen. That's the Deputy Governor of Kajiado County, Martin Mosisho, and Wakili Gibson Gesore. We take a break at that particular point, then I'll give them time to cross over to the Kiswahili section. Follow them there for more. Good morning.